apparently that's what went to Mary and said, "Be not afraid." That's a big ask. She's giving birth to a demon baby. Ugh, your heart breaks for her. I don't know if that was on purpose, but it felt on purpose, and I really liked that. A demon is treating you better than your husband? It's time to go. Okay, new filming location unlocked. Well, hello, I'm Erica. I am Odd. I spent my afternoon building this bookshelf. It was very heavy. Anyways, I am now exhausted, but I wanted to end my night by talking with you guys about a new book that I just read. I'll give you a bookshelf tour in the next vlog, but I'm very happy with how it turned out. I think it's adorable, and I have all my plushies on there, so I'm pretty happy about that. Alrighty, got my old gaming recliner set up. I forgot how comfortable this thing is. It has that lumbar support. I'm digging it. This is definitely going to be a new filming spot for book reviews. However, let's get into the book, shall we? So, I picked up one of the most anticipated reads for February, which was the book TRAD by Saratoga Schaefer. I hope I'm saying her full name correctly. And as you know, I don't really do videos on individual books or series unless they're like 5-star or 6-star for me. They have to be like something I think about for a long time. And they have to be something that like blew my mind, kind of. And this did. Now, before we go into this is a spoiler vlog. I'm going to spoil everything in this book. If you want to read this book and you don't want it spoiled, by all means, I'll see you in the next video, or check out one of my previous ones. However, I'm obviously not going to spoil every single part of this book. However, most of it. We'll put it right there for right now, because I'm gonna pick it back up again. But let's put her there, so she's nice and in view, shall we? Anyway, so, TRAD wife. What is a TRAD wife? TRAD wife stands for traditional wife. The internet's definition of this, aka Google, a woman that has traditional values, is usually religious, and is subservient to her husband. That is essentially what a TRAD wife is. These women essentially go online and say that women should not work. The husband should be the one providing. They should be serving their husband and only their husband, not a boss, not anybody else. And then they post those videos onto the internet where they make money. No, I'll wait for you to make it make sense, because they're usually religious. They don't have to be, but I have yet to see one that isn't. One of the biggest curses of my life is that I am actually a raging feminist with TRAD wife hobbies. So a lot of these women unfortunately have a lot of the same hobbies as me, which are you make your own bread, gardening, canning. A lot of time they'll live on a farm. I don't live on a farm, but I do garden and I do can. Majority of their content is them taking care of their 8 kids. They're the moms that dress their babies only in beige clothing, and when they announce the birth, the child is in neutral tones, maybe like a white or an eggshell background, and they're in some sort of beige outfit or neutral toned outfit with maybe a neutral pattern on it, right? You know the ones. That is what a TRAD wife is. This book centers around exactly that. It centers around this stereotype, if you will. So this book is about a TRAD wife named Camille, and at least I think that's how you pronounce it. We're gonna call her Camille, because if it's not, oh well, I really like the name Camille. She is a young woman who is 24 years old. She's been married for 4 years, so she got married at 20. Throughout the book, we learn that Camille dropped out of college. She was in a science program, sort of top of her class situation, because she was raised by a very religious father. He thought that science and school were not her place, and he was very pleased when she met her very vanilla husband. Her husband, whose name is Graham, we'll get to it, and essentially started this journey of being a traditional Catholic stay-at-home wife, wanting to be a stay-at-home mother, and they just moved into this beautiful farm home where she hopes to start a family. And she has her Instagram and her TikTok, and she's trying to reach the same level as this influencer that she looks up to. She looks at this woman's page constantly, parasocially, and that is not an assumption. She watches this page parasocially, and sort of needing this other influencer's validation, this stranger who she's never met, is so important to her that she thinks about it like 20 times a day. And that is how she fills her days. Especially moving to this home, she sort of just unpacks and she cooks and she films the content of her day every single day. As a TRAD wife, all she wants more than anything is to have a baby. So now that's sort of the premise of the book. Now let's get into the good. Demons, right? I need my beige. Also, I did hand crochet this. I'm not a TRAD wife. Look at the dark romance I have next to me. I'm not a TRAD wife. Not a wife. The beginning of the book kind of just gets like right into it, right? So we see her, she's trying to film herself naturally for a pregnancy test reaction, and I have to say how they structured her mind working as an influencer who tries to make her life seem perfect. Pregnancy test is a no. She goes to a wheat field because that's a thing, and before this she makes a wish in a well that she finds on the property, and as she's scrolling through her feed that night she sees something crawling out of the well, a sort of dark mass. It freaks her out. She deletes the video. She goes to bed. Cut to the good. So now we're getting introduced to the demon. This thing presents to her in a dream, right, of just an eye looking at her and a deep voice saying, "Why do you want a baby? Why do you want a baby?" repeatedly asking her. So then we find out that she really wants a baby because she has to have something to take care of. She's never gone throughout her life where she didn't have something to take care of. So she doesn't know who she is when she's not taking care of somebody else. And I think that that is such an important nuance within this book, that it's who is this hyper-religious woman who was raised being told that she has nothing more to offer than being a wife and a mother. Who is she if she is not a wife and a mother? What does she have to offer? What does she have to do with her life? She has no other plan. She almost did in college with science, but then she was told that that was wrong. This eye presents to her over and over in dreams. She talks to her husband Graham about it, who's a devout Catholic, which is his choice. And he basically talks to her about angels. The moment that this demon presented itself as an eye in her dream, I knew that she was going to think that it was an angel, because here's the thing. If you read the Old Testament, I was forced to learn it. If you read the Old Testament, angels are terrifying. They're eyes with a big, huge set of wings with a bunch of other little eyes on it. Apparently, that's what went to Mary and said, "Be not afraid." That's a big ask. So she convinces herself that this is an angel, right? And some weird happenings start to go on around her house. There's these movements in the shadows and gray figures, and she hears walking when nobody's there. And she then convinces herself that this is an angel coming to give her a baby. And she hooks up with what she thinks is an angel because she thinks that this is how immaculate conception happens. And she wants to fill this role in her life that she thinks she was born to do. She convinces herself that that is in fact how immaculate conception happens, is apparently with like a big 7-foot scaly winged demon. Now she does get pregnant from this. She reveals it to her husband Graham, who looks very disappointed at first and then is sort of happy. Now Graham's been displaying the classic signs of cheating. There is not a world in this book in which this man is not cheating, okay? He's lying about having social media. He's lying about being in a storm on a golf course, and he smells like somebody else's perfume. It's all like the classic telltale signs that this Catholic man is cheating. He won't get a divorce, but he'll cheat. So this pregnancy isn't, I swear to God, I do this so my back doesn't get like stuck to the chair. So her pregnancy actually only lasts about 2.5 months. Growing at a rapid rate, she makes up the excuse of, well, I must not have known that I was pregnant, to the two people around her, which are her husband and her nosy neighbor, Rianne. She's basically like, yeah, about 7 months along, whatever it is. She can tell that this is an abnormal pregnancy when she starts to feel the baby move almost immediately. She has a bump the very next day, like a 4-month bump. And she didn't think anything was super abnormal about it until she started having to eat raw meat to have nourishment. If you had a really difficult pregnancy, this might not be the book for you. However, she's losing her hair, she's becoming gaunt, and it's not until she starts eating just raw meat that she starts to feel better. Finally, time comes, she gives birth. It's excruciating. It's gory. And remember, this is a horror book, so yeah. I saw some complaints in the reviews of like, I didn't know that this book was gonna be so gory. I don't think it's necessary to have that graphic of a birth scene. It's like, well, she's giving birth to a demon baby. Like, did the fortune not foretell that there was gonna be a graphic birth scene? The demon is there for it. Graham is not, which is for the best. She gives birth right there on her living room floor to a 13-pounder. God help her. That was the most graphic part for me. Just the fact that the baby was 13 pounds. None of the graphic details. The sentence, "the baby's 13 pounds," really did it in for me. I was like, damn, sis. Meanwhile, as all this goes on, she's trying to post very normally. Meanwhile, she now has this baby who is slightly green and has no pupils or irises. Kind of like a lizard, but more like a demon. All of this is happening, right? Still trying to post normally on Instagram and on TikTok of just had my baby, my sweet angel, is color correcting so the baby doesn't look green, only shows her with her eyes closed, and it becomes apparent very quickly that this obviously is not a normal baby, to her at least. Husband's not around to see it, he's too busy out cheating. Anyway, time goes on. There are a bunch of I don't want to spoil everything, but in order to feed the baby, because guess what? The baby doesn't drink milk. The baby drinks blood and eats meat, raw meat. Herself, Camille starts to notice that she's changing. The roots of her hair are starting to turn black and she's starting to grow scales. Her nails are becoming longer, her teeth are becoming sharper. The pinnacle of this book, Graham comes home. He says he wants a divorce for misrepresentation because after 4 years, she is not herself. She is not waiting on him hand and foot because she just had a baby. She is not making everything from scratch. Basically, she's not coddling his pathetic anymore. She comes downstairs to talk to him in a black dress. Remember, she wears all beige, so like this is showing. Okay, she's done. And she says to him, I know that you've been cheating. I saw it. I saw the messages. I went through your phone. And he denies it completely, right? She's sort of done at that point, and she decides for their last meal as a family, Graham is going to be the meal for the baby. She actually gets a video of it on the baby monitor, decides to smile at the camera, posts it, and says F you to the influencer that she once so desperately wanted to be friends with and had a parasocial relationship with, has sort of fully transformed into this demon-like creature that is like the creature that impregnated her in the first place. And her and the baby walk out into the forest. She takes her demon husband's hand and they walk into the dark sunset forest and live unholy ever after. So that's just like the gist of the plot. I don't want to give away too much of it, but I do want to talk about this because it felt so important to me as somebody who, my extended family on my mother's side, I don't talk to any of them. I grew up around them and they are very religious, but also massively hypocritical because of how they live. I'll get into it. Hearing about all this religious stuff and about what a woman's supposed to do and what you're supposed to do when you get older, which was you're supposed to graduate high school, you're supposed to go to college and find a husband, and start having babies. A lot of talk around that, especially towards me, for them was you go to college and you get your MRS degree. Don't worry about any other degree. You get your MRS. I used to bring up the question of like, well, what if I don't want to get married? Well, you have to get married if you want to have kids. And that was always hypocritical to me because the majority of my cousins were teen moms. And it's like, hey, they're not married. Hey, how'd that happen if they're not married? And because I chose a path of going to college and educating myself and not focusing on getting a husband in college because I didn't want to get married before 30 and I didn't want kids before 30 and I wanted to live my life and grow and experience things and experience life and travel and be me, it was very much frowned upon. I'm glad I went my 20s without all that. I would have been divorced by now. I'm sort of the black sheep, if you will. I'm so thankful that I have my dad who, while my mother's extended family was telling me all this bullshit, he would say to me, no, they're wrong. Do not think that you have to do that. My dad has always said to me, the number one goal of my life is to make sure that I am happy in it. No matter what it looks like, as long as I'm happy within my life, I have succeeded. And I've carried that with me a lot. I'm always grateful to have the dad that I have. Fortunately, Camille in the book did not have a good dad. And so she was taught sort of the same thing that all my cousins were taught. That is, you grow up and you get married and you meet somebody and that's what you do. That is your goal. You don't have any greater goals than that. And don't get me wrong. Would I like to meet somebody and have children one day? Yes, I absolutely do. But that's my choice that I made for myself. And it's on my timeline and when I feel ready for that. Not because I was told by a certain age I should have been married. At the beginning of the book, the first few chapters were me sort of looking at it going, wow, if I had listened to those people and let them sort of brainwash me into that, I could have been Camille, stuck in this marriage that she feels like she's doing nothing right. And she's married to a horrible man who just cheats on her and ignores her and views her as nothing but a servant. Oh, your heart breaks for her. No matter how sort of cocky or pompous she seems within the beginning of the book, as it goes on, my heart went out to her. I was like, God, she just wanted to be loved. so badly. Also, I love the fact that his name is Graham. Like, this influencer that is such in this social media bubble where her life does not exist without this external validation of these people on social media, that she is literally married to a man named Graham, like Instagram. I don't know if that was on purpose, but it felt on purpose, and I really liked that. And another aspect of this too is like, she took obviously the wrong path in the end, right? She took an unholy path. It was against everything she had ever been taught, but she was also happier than ever, and she felt, I call it her demon husband. It doesn't have a name. She felt more loved by her demon husband and taken care of. He went out and he hunted for her and he brought her like deer meat. He provided. He would check in on her. He was there for the birth and made sure that she was okay and the baby was okay. He stepped up and was the husband that she deserved. I know that's a really weird thing to say, but it was sort of to show like, this forest demon is better than her cheating Catholic husband. It's like the most stand-up girl moment I've ever seen in my life. Just like, girl, get up. Get up. A demon is treating you better than your husband. It's time to go. And again, she wanted her baby because she wanted something to take care of, and she is sort of this fierce mother. And another part of the book too is she is posting the baby on Instagram, and some people are like, why is the baby a weird green color? Why does the baby look so weird? And she then goes on and deletes all photos of her baby. And she says to herself like, oh my God, I've been posting my daughter when she can't even consent to me posting her, and all of these people are having opinions on her when she can't even talk. She can't even fathom what's happening. And she feels this immense guilt. And I agree. For me personally, you will never see my children's faces online until they are old enough to be like, yeah, mom, I'm cool with that. And I don't mean like 10 years old. I mean like they're old enough to have their own social media, and I feel it's generally safe for them to have their own social media. So maybe like 15 or 16, if they would like to post themselves and have their own fun little Instagram or whatever happening by the time that happens, as long as it's safe, sure. But on my pages and like on my YouTube and everything, you'll never see my baby's faces. Maybe they'll be in a Bjorn like facing me and you'll see the back of their head, but you'll never see my baby's face. Not sorry. I won't apologize for that. Yeah, I'll share this. Why not? Because it. Facebook came out when I was in like middle school. Don't call me old. My mother became obsessed with it. She still is. And she would just post photos of me that I would ask her not to, and nothing like inappropriate, but like I looked bad. I knew it was bad when I got my wisdom teeth out, and she asked to post me on anesthesia, completely swollen. By the way, I had a really bad wisdom tooth removal. My entire face was swollen. They almost broke my jaw. It was really bad. And so it was not, I didn't want it around. I was already getting bullied in school. I didn't need to get bullied more. She wanted to post it and I said no. Even in my haze, I said no. And she goes, but my Facebook friends really want to see it. And that is when I decided as a kid, my children will never be online. You won't see them. You just won't. You won't see their faces. And that's okay. And so when Camille said that, I was like, yep, that's how I feel. For me personally, and with my trauma, I can't do it. I just can't do it. It's just not for me. Anyways, so I like that it touched on that as well, of like, what are you posting? We all have to remember that this is the internet. I'm fine sharing about myself. I'm not just gonna openly share about the people that I love without their consent. That's not me. That's not my game. And I'm somebody who, you know, had their miscarriage exposed online very, very publicly, and it's horrible. It's a horrible feeling. To have stuff shared without your consent is just not okay. And so I like that she touched on that in the book. But another big thing was the parasocial mindset that she had between this influencer, of her entire life felt like it was complete when this influencer followed her back, and then it came crashing down when the influencer unfollowed her because she hadn't posted in 2 days. And she at one point photoshopped a photo of herself and the influencer together and then printed it out and put it like in a picture frame, just like in her drawer for her to see. And that was really freaky, because there are some people who like, they convince themselves that they know people online. And as we know, in 2024, I dealt with, and it's scary and it's horrible. And so they kind of show her being more parasocial, so it's this mindset sort of from within her mind. I think that was also a really important part of this book, to show the influencer aspect of that. Genuinely, this book, it touches on so many important concepts, and I loved so much about it. I could go on for hours about this book, but I think I've touched on the main points that I like resonated with and really enjoyed. I love that this was like a modern day Rosemary's Baby. I really do. But it is sort of this question, I guess, of how far will someone go to seem perfect on social media when they've been taught to have no other identity other than a traditional wife. Yes, it's funny to be like, oh my god, this It is crazy because it is a horror book and a lot of this is insane, but it touches on the deeper question of if you teach your child that they're nothing without someone else, what are you teaching them? How far will they go to meet the exact standards that you've taught them? And I think that it was executed perfectly. This is a 6-star read for me. It really is. And I thoroughly enjoy it. I encourage you to pick it up. So talented. I think I gotta check out some of her other books. But that is it for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments down below if you've had any 6 or 5-star reads. I've been having a lot lately. So the February review is gonna be wonderful. But other than that, please enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys. I really did an amazing job. Look at this. I impressed myself. Okay, I put her by the U series. Don't talk to Joe, he's weird. Although you talk to Forest Demons. So I gotta fix this chair. I gotta get a single train of thought. Okay, bye.